Ready. Play.
Jannik Sinner against Ben Shelton. Maybe the most anticipated of all the quarterfinals. And of course, we do know that that might just blow up in our faces as Jannik wins 2-1. Is Ben coming back a little bit? Obviously, he's not been out for long, but that was such a painful retirement he had, probably both physically and literally, against who was it he retired against at the US Open? Manarino, yeah, thank you. I had him as, a potential semi-finalist or finalist in New York. So, yeah, but now we're going to see him up against Jannik Sinner. And we have seen these two play at Wimbledon this year in a fairly one-sided affair. But I do think there are circumstances, unlike Alex de Minaur, there are circumstances I can see a Ben Shelton, Jannik Sinner match being very competitive. And maybe if Ben had a few more matches under his belt, I would possibly pinpoint indoor, hard, slow, perhaps might be one of those. Maybe I think I'd probably prefer a bit quicker than this. So maybe someone like Turin. But there are some circumstances. I think probably Ben needs another year. But I think this time next year, I think Shelton versus Sinner could be a very competitive matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it has been in a sense historically.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think if Ben was maybe a little bit more in form, obviously still out there roaring, still out there competitive, and honestly impressing me because I didn't really know what we were going to get kind of in this
They've
little
played quite a lot. They've played a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Just over 2 years, 7 times. So they also played in Australia this year, and although the head-to-head is 6-1. And although those 2 wins at Grand Slams this year were both straight sets, I mean, Wimbledon, as you can see, 6-4, 6-4, sorry, 7-6, 6-4, 6-4, super tight sets. But ultimately, when the match was entering its latter stages, you sort of thought, yeah, this is done. And it was. The Australian Open, I think Ben was serving for the first set, didn't serve it out, pays the penalty. Who knows how that goes if he does win the first set? I think probably Jannik does prevail one way or another, but we could have been talking about a 4 or 5 set classic. And although it's 6-1, it was only 2 years ago that Ben got his only win over Jannik in Shanghai, which would have been just on the eve of the Jannik Sinner 2.0 that we're all familiar with today.
Yeah, seriously. But regardless, I think like this week, evaluating Shelton's play, it's been, once again, a lot higher than I thought it would be. But I also think these conditions, it kind of just reminds me of his ability to adapt and like growth in his game in terms of the clay season that we saw from him. Yeah, I think these slower conditions actually like help him out. Kind of like, I would guess I would compare it to like Gabi Diallo in a sense, where they're just having a little bit more time to set up their ground strokes. And, it's very, very powerful. And we know how good of an athlete Shelton is. So you mix the ability to turn defense into offense and then have time to show your weapons. It's very deadly. I don't think he has gotten broken much this tournament already. So, and then, I mean, we'll transition into it now. I mean, Sinner, yeah, domination against Burries, but that first set today, broken back-to-back times against Cerundolo.
Okay.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think that's happened. And when I mean back-to-back, like, he got broken, broke back, he got broken again. So consecutive service games where he was broken. I don't think that has happened at all in 2025. I don't think it'll happen for years and years and years, to be honest. It's just very rare. So I guess there's a little bit of vulnerability there. And Shelton was able to squeak out a break to love against Rublev today in that second set after, a monster way to finish the first set. So he had some fans as well. That was a little bit surprising. Yeah. In the Paris crowd today. Okay. A couple American flags flying. But John, I'll ask you, because I saw Tennis Channel put out a tweet. Okay. They were saying that Sinner was having some physical issues. I unfortunately was not able to catch the match, but did you see any of that? And obviously a 6-1 second set would not necessarily indicate that, but it's Jannik Sinner.
I didn't, but it is probably the final part of this preview I did want to address anyway. And I didn't see the tweet from the tennis channel, but what I did see is some quotes attributed to Jannik, and it was related to his physical condition. So I was a bit curious about that because I didn't see today's match with Cerundolo, but I did know that he won it, and so it was a bit of a funny thing that I'm wondering if maybe even he brought it up, or maybe he was asked and then he elaborated, and it didn't sound. I mean, you've mentioned it before, and I think others have as well. That we don't always know where he's at. I mean, sometimes he's limping around, as he was in the third set against Zverev last week, wasn't he? In Vienna, and then suddenly he prevails in that. And we've seen that many times, including this season. So I did want to address it. And I think it is, I'm looking at the Tennis Channel tweet now. Jannik Sinner is struggling physically, but still producing incredible shots in Paris. And this is, of course, at the beginning of the second set, by the way, they put out this tweet. So, but then he does prevail, sort of Novak Djokovic-esque, if you like. And, but it is the not quite the asterisk, but it is something for Ben Shelton fans to cling to. And I think if Shelton wins this match, say in 3 sets, it may well be one of the storylines that follows it, just because for the first time, maybe in the last 18 months, we are seeing these sort of this issue that was a big talking point pretty much before every big Jannik Sinner match 2, 3, 4 years ago. Can he do it, especially at slams over 5 sets, where we had seen him struggle physically? I remember against Zverev, for example, in New York a couple of years ago, and other occasions, also some 3-setters as well. It's not as bad as it was then. It might just be a thing that's happening. But we have seen, as we mentioned on a couple of shows recently, Cincinnati illness. He's 5-love down and retires to Carlos Alcaraz. We saw him limping around on Sunday, didn't we? We saw him retire in Shanghai against Griekspoor. So it's been a interesting 6 to 8 weeks in terms of, he's just struggling a few times on court, and apparently, according to Tennis Channel, he was doing so again at the beginning of the second set today. I think, as I say, if Shelton is to win this, it might well be partly because of that. Maybe he's not moving so well, but I'm still going to go for a Jannik win, probably in 2 tight sets.
Yep. We know Shelton's got to serve really well to even have a chance. So I'm with you. Sinner in 2.
But I think going forward, I think this has still been a step, bearing in mind he's not really played much in the last couple of months, Ben. He had a rough loss, I think, last week. What tournament was he? Was he in Basel or was he in Vienna? Shelton last week. I'm going to have a look. Basel. I remember it was I think it might have been a first round or first match. Yeah, he played Basel. And he lost.
Oh, Munar.
Oh, he had one win. He had a win over Myshak, a real tight third set win there.
Should have lost it,
and then lost in straights to Munar. Yeah. So, but that sort of, those results, those performances sort of did feel like, okay, this is the first tournament back. As long as he's healthy afterwards, he gets one win. He gets plenty of time on court. Again, step forward this week. Great win over Rublev, as you highlighted as well. Straight sets, serving well, blah, blah, blah. So, these are step forward. If he goes out in 2 tight sets, makes the ATP Tour finals, who knows, gets out of his group there, it'll be another huge step forward for me in the year and the career of Ben Shelton. And, I think the target for next year would be consolidate he's in the top 7 at the moment. It was ranked currently 7, and who knows where he'll end the year. But if he can, get a position in that top 5 sometime next year, reach a slam final, this is all step forwards. He's 23. And Jannik Sinner is 24, so it's only a year older. I mentioned that sort of point earlier, but I see him in a good place, and who knows, maybe even a slam win next year. I see Ben Shelton as the number 1 contender from the United States to win a Grand Slam, and maybe by some distance, despite the fact he's behind Taylor Fritz right now in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue that, but I guess the only argument is Taylor Fritz has made a final.
Yeah, he has. And listen, there is a debate, but I think I would have more weapons in my armory to win this debate. I mean, one of them is just trajectory. Another one is age. Taylor Fritz 27, Shelton 23. Another one is weapons. I just feel as though Shelton has a couple of big weaknesses, return of serve in particular. I think his net play could certainly improve. And if he improved his net play, I think he'd have a good shot at winning a Wimbledon title one day. And I think he's so his strengths are so good that for me gives him a great chance. Taylor Fritz, I feel, could play Sinner and Alcaraz dozens of times and never win. I know Shelton, as that 6-1 head-to-head, and I'm sure Jannik will have a comfortable end of career head-to-head, but I think there'll be a few wins for Ben along the way, and I do think Ben will win a Grand Slam one day. Who knows? Maybe next year. All right, but I do think Jannik's going to win this one, and you too, right?
Yes, sir.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.